Hi guys, welcome back to PERIDOT TV. How are you all doing? As you all know, a lot of Nigerians came back from South Africa, and of course, a lot of us have family members in South Africa, and we are so happy that they are back, and our hearts go to the ones that have remained injured in South Africa. The number of Nigerians that made it back to Nigeria drastically reduced following the moves by the South African government to frustrate the evacuation efforts. Now, that could come to you as a shock that South Africa is trying to make sure that Nigerians do not leave. Now, one wonder, are they trying to keep Nigerians there so that they will be killed? Or what is the meaning of this? Or they are trying to do what they call balance, to make sure that they have Nigerians over there so as to protect their own businesses here in Nigeria, in Nigeria, in the hope that some Nigerians might decide to attack their businesses and their people, so they do the same thing. I don't know why. Or they're actually doing this just to make other countries, other nations see them as good people. Only about 187 adults and children were successfully evacuated on Wednesday, as against the 320 Nigerians expected back home. I brought you the story. You saw the Nigerians were excited, singing and happy that they are leaving Egypt. Now I'm using the word Egypt, not that it is Egypt, like in the Bible, they are leaving Egypt, the land of sorrow, bloodthirsty and demons. The flight arrived the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos, at about 9:43 p.m. One of the returnee, Uche Victor, told the journalist that he left his wife, who he said was a Cameroonian, and a young daughter behind. Now I don't know why this is so. I think he should have left with his wife and daughter. Probably the woman does not want to leave South Africa. I don't know why. Or because the government would not take the Cameroonian lady with him. I don't know what the issues are anyway. He said, I am bleeding because I left my wife and baby, but I have to come back because my mother cries for me to return. If something happens to me, she will suffer. So that's the reason why he had to leave, and he left his wife over there. Probably they are not at the center of the xenophobic attack, and the woman might be working somewhere and she feels like, no, life is good for us here. We are not at the center of the xenophobic attack. But you know how it is in Nigeria. Parents, particularly if he's the only child of his mom, aged mom, she's not going to have any child any longer, so she will keep shouting, come back home, come back home, come back home, something like that, because as he said the mom will suffer if anything happens to him over there. That's to tell you that probably he's the only child or the only person doing well. So he said he left his businesses and he came back with nothing. He said, South Africans believe all Nigerians are drug pushers, but I don't know the color of any drug. Victor, who explained that he left Nigeria for South Africa in 2007, that's a long time, explained the attacks were anger against the government, and rather than them focusing on the government, they tend to attack other nationals that are domiciled in South Africa. It's just like the case we have in Nigeria. Boko Haram is saying no to Western education, as if the West have any business to do with them. The West have no business to do with Boko Haram. They have no business with you. They expect you to upgrade your life and challenge them and compete against them, against the Western countries. That is what you are supposed to do. Rather, we have Boko Haram killing themselves. Unlike the South Africans, they are killing other nationals. So we don't understand what is really wrong with the mindset of most of these people. Is Boko Haram a freedom fighter? I don't know. If Boko Haram is a freedom fighter, they should be killing most of their public service holders, their politicians that are looting the economy and making their life the way it is. But rather, they have a wrong, a distorted mindset. Victor said he left South Africa, left his Cameroonian wife, his young daughter, as a result of his mom crying and asking him to come back home. And he's saying that these criminals, these demonic bloodsuckers, these bestial, I don't know what name we can actually categorize these people as, that they are angry against their government, they are angry at their government, and rather than focusing on their government, they rather kill other people and claim that these people are involved in drugs, claim that these people are taking their jobs. I don't think there is any national over there taking any South African job, because you don't find them working in any of these multinational companies or any of their national companies. These people will rather open businesses for themselves to thrive. That is what I know. So if you have a different opinion, let us meet at the comment section. I saw some South Africans coming to the page. They're also venting their anger, repeating the same thing. Let them go with their drugs. Let them do this. Some stole my ID and a lot of stuff. Well, like I said earlier, it is not all South Africans that are involved in this, but some of them are kind of silently happy that these things are happening because they may not be able to go against their people, while some have been known to speak out against this xenophobic attack against Africans, not just Nigerians. But they are focusing on Nigeria probably because they feel that Nigeria is more tough, or the giant of Africa as they claim that they are. Now let us look at something. If the economy in Nigeria is better, I don't think a lot of people will leave. And aside that, and when I talk about economy, there's nothing wrong with the Nigerian economy. It's just that these people are doing business, they are running the economy, but the money is being pocketed. They use it in buying private jets, they use it in running life for themselves. Use this money to send their kids abroad. That's what they do. So it's not like the economy is so bad. It's just that they make sure they stifle the economy, they keep it to themselves, spend the money, and they keep passing it from generation to generation. They put their children in politics to take over from other people, to oppress people. That is all what they do. That's all they do. So he went further to say they didn't want us to go, but for Nigerian consulate. So it was the Nigerian consulate that actually helped them to get out of that place. He said they are only venting their anger on foreigners. They started with black and will move to the white. Of course, we know that some white Caucasians that are there, Caucasians that are in South Africa, they call them the Boer. They are the ones there in South Africa. We found stories where they've been killed because they say they are paying back what they did. Yes, the Caucasians, Boer, really killed, and they really did a lot of things, evil things, bestial things to South Africans. Yes, they really did a lot of things. So according to him, the flight would have returned earlier, but the South African government made it difficult. They did not want us to go, but for the Nigerian consulate, if not for the Nigerian consulate. Another returning from Abia State, who gave his name as Onoa, said a lot of Nigerians are still stranded as they could not return with their properties. Aliu Said from Osun said his shop was boggled and he came back home empty. And they just imagine this. It's a terrible thing. It's painful. But he said, I am happy to be home. I am not going back again. Who wants to go back to a place where you can be maimed, you can be killed for just nothing? That is what it is. I don't know. There are agencies in South Africa that are supposed to work against drug trafficking and catch, prosecute. That is it. Arrest and prosecute the people that are involved in this. But why would these people claim that the only way forward is for them to start killing? And you saw what their ministers said. Their ministers are kind of in support of this somehow. Some of them say subtle things. Rather than making the people focus on them as the major problem in South Africa, they try to change the direction, the focus on foreigners as the problem. And because most of these people are dumb, stupid, they felt like, okay, these foreigners are the cause of our problems. Let us send them back. Maybe our country will be better. Let us see how this thing turns out to be. Now, South Africa decided to cancel the visas issued to returning Nigerians. Now, that's funny, right? Well, none of them want to return anyway. But why would you cancel the visa because they are returning? What about leaving the visa, they return until there is peace and they might want to go back? We don't know if they want to. So one of the correspondents learned that the South African authorities went further to cancel visas that were issued to the returning Nigerians. A picture on Facebook showed a Nigerian passport with a cancelled South African visa as of September 10. The chairman, Nigerian Diaspora Commission, Mrs. Abike Dabiri Erewa, said there was 15 hours delay before the flight left South Africa. She had earlier told journalists that the South African authorities brought new immigration rules before the affected Nigerians could be allowed to board the aircraft. According to Dabiri Erewa, the federal government is giving 40,000. I told you that already, and a lot of people are not happy about this. 40,000 naira worth of airtime to last them for 2 months. What is this? Why would you give them 40,000 naira airtime for 2 months, as well as a stipend of 10,000 naira for transport? Why don't you give them 10,000 naira airtime, give them the 40,000 naira cash so they can do what they need to do? These are adults. These are people that left Nigeria because of certain things that are not in place, and they went somewhere else in the hope that they can try, probably do business and get things to work for them. And you are giving them stipend 10,000 naira. Anyway, they said they are going to there are plans for the Bank of Industry to provide some money for the returnee to start some small businesses. These are promises. They've not given it to them. Let us see how this turns out to be. A lot of Nigerians are focused on this. We want to see what the government really wants to do. Meanwhile, the chief operating officer of Air Peace, Mrs. Toyin Olajide, said the evacuation will cost the airline about 300 million naira. Olajide said the cost would include payment of passenger service charge, aeronautical and other charges. Now, this is someone, a private citizen, doing this. Why? Because he knows he's an Igbo man. He knows that the government will do nothing, particularly if he realizes, of course, we know it's not just the Igbos that are there in South Africa. We've got Yoruba people there too, and probably some other minority tribes in Nigeria. But we don't have the Hausa people there. They don't travel. They go into the bush. That's what they do. Or they go to Egypt, they go to some of these countries. Just imagine what happened in Saudi Arabia. A lady was charged for drugs. She claims she is not involved in this, but they found out that she had the drugs in her bags. Maybe someone put it there or whatever. We saw how swift the federal government brought her back. Although the lady had a junior sister and a mom that actually cried. They went to one show like that and they cried and they said this is happening to us, blah blah blah. But we saw how swift the government did this. But the government is not acting quick when it comes to other tribes in Nigeria being murdered. That is the problem. That is the problem. So we are not talking of one Nigeria here. So what's your take about this? Let us meet at the comment section. I believe the government should do more than what they are doing. In fact, the government should do more in Nigeria so that people do not go out like that. Let us meet at the comment section below. What's your take about all of this? The new South African immigration rules that they are trying to hold back Nigeria so as not to let them leave. What's your take about this, and what do you think the government should do in Nigeria? Let us meet at the comment section, and may I remind you, if you have not done so, kindly tap on that subscription button. It is free, and also the red notification icon bell is very important so that you will be notified whenever new videos are uploaded. Thanks for stopping by.